Hello, welcome back to Southwest Trailers. My name is Matt. I've just been packing up some of our regular eBay orders, and as you might imagine, we sell quite a few of these, which are the 12N 7-pin plugs and the 12N 7-pin sockets. And as you may well know, these are available both in plastic and in aluminium, and there are some quite significant differences between the two, other than the fact they're made from plastic or aluminium. So let's start with the aluminium 12N 7-pin vehicle socket. So they've all got these cover plates here. The plastic ones are exactly the same. These do exactly the same job. But what I've found in my experience with the aluminium ones is the cover plate here, so it opens up, so that's 90 degrees, and then it goes, that's its maximum, which is maybe 120 degrees, something like that. Doesn't really matter. That's as far as it goes. Now that is enough to get your 7-pin plug in and out of. However, when that's quite low down on your vehicle and you're trying to get the plug in, sometimes that's not enough. And what happens is inevitably you end up forcing this flap too far and it will actually break across here. And once it's broken, there's no repairing it. It's then no longer going to keep anything out of the internals of that socket, and it's going to corrode very quickly. In comparison, the plastic, again, 90 degrees, but this particular one, comes right up to 180 degrees, and if you really force it, it will allow you to go a little bit further if you need to. And that, for me, is the fundamental difference, is the fact that it is more forgiving than the aluminium. And when you're actually using it, there are times where you are going to push it that little bit too far. You are going to maybe twist it or something like that. So in my experience, the plastic actually lasts a lot longer than the aluminium, even though you might think the aluminium is actually stronger. Now with the 7-pin plugs, same kind of thing applies essentially. There are no moving parts on these. These plug in and out of the sockets, that's what they do. There's no hinge parts or anything like that. However, the aluminium is much more susceptible to impact damage. So for example, if it ends up falling on the floor and somebody wedges a jockey wheel on it or something like that, that's the common thing that happens when it's on the floor. This will actually crack and snap and break off, whereas the plastic, it does have a little bit more forgiveness to it. It's more likely to bend than it is to break. The other common thing we see with the aluminium, particularly aluminium plug inside an aluminium socket, is that when it's wedged in, like this, they are quite tight. They all fit quite tight. But to put it out, you have to wiggle it. And if you wiggle it too hard, it puts a lot of strain on the casing. And again, the casing here can let go. And that's it. It's broken. Whereas the plastic, even in an aluminium socket, push that together, it's got a little bit more forgiveness to it. So if you are wiggling it out, the plastic again is a lot less likely to shatter and break. Now if you are going to change the 7-pin socket on the back of your tow vehicle, I've got 3 top tips for you. Top tip number 1 also applies to your 7-pin plug, in that inside the back of the socket or inside the middle of the plug, you've got the 7 terminals for the 7 wires. You'll find that number 7 is the one right in the very middle. Number 7 takes the black wire, which is the left-hand side light. And my top tip to you is to put number 7 in first. Now, if like me, you like to do things numerically, so start with 1 and work your way around to 7, that's fine. But what you'll find is by the time you get round to 7, there are 6 wires in the way, which means that getting number 7 in and getting good connection on it is actually quite difficult. Whereas if you put number 7 in first and then go round 1 to 6, you've got a good chance of getting a good strong connection. Tip number 2, if you're changing your socket because it's worn out, it's corroded, it's old, whatever, there is a good chance that your gasket won't be in as good a shape as it could be either. So top tip number 2 is if you're going to go and buy yourself a socket, buy yourself a gasket. Gasket goes on the back. Its primary job is to help keep corrosion from getting to the inside of the socket. And top tip number 3, and if you've ever tried to change one of these before, you'll have probably experienced this already, is to get yourself the 3 bolts, or screws if you like, that hold the socket onto the mounting plate. What you'll probably find with the old ones is they'll be corroded and they'll be really difficult to get off. More commonly than not, I have to cut these off to get the socket off, and obviously once you've cut it, it's no good. Even if they're corroded and you manage to undo them, there is a good chance you won't be able to reuse them. So before you find yourself caught short, I would advise that you get yourself some extra bolts. So top tip number 1, number 7 in first. Top tip number 2, get yourself a gasket. Top tip number 3, definitely get yourself the 3 bolts that hold it on. And then lastly, just to note, this video has been about the 7-pin plugs and sockets. There are other sockets and plugs on the market in the form of 13-pin. I'm not going to go into the differences between 7 and 13-pin in this particular video. I might do one later. But what I would say is, if you find yourself with a compatibility issue, so the common one, for example, is a 7-pin trailer and a 13-pin vehicle socket, we keep all the adapters here and we sell them on our eBay shop, SW Trailers, to take a 7-pin trailer and plug it into a 13-pin vehicle. Equally, if you've got a 13-pin trailer but a 7-pin socket on your vehicle, we keep the adapters here to go from a 13-pin trailer to a 7-pin vehicle socket. And as always, if you've enjoyed the video, please do give us a like. If you've got half a second just to give us a share, that would be amazing. It makes a huge difference to small businesses, especially ours. And if you'd like to see some more videos from us, give us a follow, and we'll be back soon with something else. Thank you very much for watching the video again, and we do hope to see you again soon. All the best. Bye-bye.